Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to another Bradford and Brooks on this beautiful Wednesday morning in downtown Bardstown. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, I tell you, I've said this before, but this would be a perfect morning to pull these microphones out on the front stoop and do the show under the shade tree.
We could do that. Ground might be a little damp, but other than that, we could.
Well, there's always the curb out there.
There's always the
There's
curb.
a nice yellow curb out there they won't park at.
Yeah.
Though I've been known to do it a time or two in an emergency. All right, well, welcome to Bradford and Brooks, and today we have this very special studio guest who's going to be talking with us about scams. And I've got a story to tell to start with, and then we'll go into depth about variations of this scam and how convincing sometimes scam victims aren't just people who are gullible or not knowledgeable. Sometimes scammers can be extremely convincing, and all the evidence looks like it's what they're doing is legitimate. However, that's not always the case. So caution is the watchword, but just be careful out there, guys. All right, a Nelson County woman was recently the victim of a scam, and I had seen notices on Facebook, and more recently in the last 4 or 5 months, a number of them about getting a phone call from someone who says they're law enforcement and telling you that you have there's a warrant for your immediate arrest. And this happened to this Nelson County woman who works outside the county. And she, of course, you panic when you find out that there's an arrest warrant. But it was from Boyd County, Kentucky. And this woman had never been to Boyd County, Kentucky, ever, and never in the area. So she was asking the appropriate questions. Are you sure that I'm the right person? And they had a good bit of information identifying her. However, she said, "Well, I can verify that I am not that person." And they said, "Well, you may not have time. You're subject to immediate arrest." And they said the safest way to keep from being arrested until you can prove who you are is to pay the bond. And that conversation went on about how to pay it and how much it was, and the amount seemed to be a little nebulous, a little fuzzy. And ultimately, the alleged deputy sheriff said, "Well, get as much as you can, and we'll see if the courts will accept it." And so they kept the victim on the phone, advised her she could not tell anybody. She couldn't text or call her husband, or else he would be subject to immediate arrest. And I'm sure he would have been surprised by that. And so she was, after questioning this scammer a number of times, challenging, the authenticity of his phone call, she felt assured that there was something to this. So she kept the scammer kept her on the phone while she drove back into Nelson County and went to a credit union and other banks and withdrew all of the available cash in all the accounts in order to try to meet the bond. And then after she had all the cash, she was instructed to go to an ATM in Mount Washington and then transmit it through an ATM that handled cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And she was given an address and told to send the money through cryptocurrency to this address. And she followed the instructions to the T. And then once the final money transfer was complete, the call ended. And the woman was left standing there like, well, what just happened? And then she realized that this was nothing more than a scam to get her to send them as much money as they possibly could. And I know that, and she told me about it because she suggested this might make a good topic for Bradford and Brooks as a warning to other people if they get a phone call about this. And so to talk about this, I brought in Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa. And I did a little research and found that law enforcement around the country have notices in the last 6 months, have posted a number of notices warning the public of this type of scam or a variation of it. And I know that a variation of that is that a family member is in jail and they need bail money, and some other, because the jail logs are public record. So if you know the family, or they can find out the family, they can say, well, we know your family member's in jail. They can pose as a bond company or some sort of other company trying to get bail for this person. And, I'll tell you what happened to me some years ago. I got an email from a good friend of mine who allegedly was traveling in Europe. And he had never mentioned leaving the country. But the email said that he had been robbed in Spain, and he didn't have money to get back to the United States. And I'm thinking, and the giveaway, of course, was the spelling and the wording of the email, because it didn't sound like a native English speaker had written this, And so it was. I'm like, and plus I know the guy, and it's like he would have been talking about going to Spain if this was legit. And so I sent him an email back, and I said, "Are you really in Spain? What's going on here?" And of course he wasn't, and it was a scam. But I don't think anybody sent the scammer money in this one. But some other scams are much more convincing and very well deployed, and all designed to separate you or someone you love from their money. Now, Sheriff, I know that this isn't an uncommon scam, but it seems as though the professionalism of these guys have is pretty amazing.
That's correct. First of all, Jim and Margie, thank you for having me, so we can talk and inform our citizens so they don't become a victim of such thing. Mm-hmm. These folks, we have jobs. You guys do the radio and other things. I'm the sheriff, and that's what we do for a living. These folks' daily job is to scam people out of money. Mm-hmm. I could go on and on about stories, but they get really, really creative via getting in form of law enforcement agencies and the community that the folk lives in, where they know the chief deputy by name or deputy by name, and they get really creative. So if you try to question what they're doing, they are matching the story that they're giving the person that they're trying to scam.
Right.
I've seen just a few $100s to over $10,000 in a scam by getting people scared that they're going to go to jail. You hear it from federal jury duty to not paying something or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of red flags that come into that. You talked about the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. There is no way any law enforcement is going to tell you to send money crypto or Bitcoins to pay your bond.
Right.
Also, if we have an order of arrest, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office is going to go to your work or your house to lock you up.
Right.
They're not going to phone you ahead of time and tell you.
No. So those are some of the things. But again, they get so creative. About a year or so ago, the scam was going around. People were getting messages that our chief deputy, Brandon Bryan, was going to come lock them up and all this and that. And so the victims were sending us the numbers, and we call, and well, this is a Nelson County Sheriff's Office or Sheriff's Department. To talk to Chief Deputy Brandon Bryan, press 1. If you ever call the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, you're always going to talk to somebody. There's a human being on the other end of that line. There's no press buttons. And that's been a customer service of the Sheriff's Office for many years. I didn't create this. I just continue the tradition that you're going to talk to a human being. Now, could we go to, if you got civil papers, hit 1? Yes, but that's kind of nonsense. The scams are out there. The guy that had Brandon Bryan's name on his thing, we actually reached out to him and talked to him, and he talked to us for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and by the end of the conversation, we got that he does this year round, and he makes over $150,000 a year.
Wow.
They use spoof cards, changing numbers, they create emails, they do creative things to get your money.
Well, in fact, the woman who, the victim of that scam I've been talking about, the caller ID said that, well, the deputy said he was calling from Ashland, which is Boyd County, Kentucky. The caller ID confirmed it was the Boyd County Sheriff's Office. And she was questioning the authenticity of the phone call. And he said, well, I can transfer you to Washington County. And so the call didn't end, but the caller ID changed to Washington County Sheriff's Office. And then a different voice came on the line and confirmed it was Washington County, and then it was transferred back. And, you know, all of that tends to make, you tend to believe what you're hearing when it sounds plausible, you know.
They sound legit. I mean, it's scary that they get your information, date of birth, the whole 9 yards, and make you believe that you are really in trouble. And again, this guy is trying to hit either first base hit or a home run, and if he gets over 5,000, it's a great day for him. On a 10-15 minute call, this victim, apparently she was on the phone for nearly an hour or so, because driving from out of county to here and then back to Mount Washington,
Right.
That's a little scary. We had a nursing student at Galen who received a similar call, and I mean, she was bawling when she arrived at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office.
But she came to check it out personally.
She did the right thing. Of course, you can hear anything over the phone, but she showed up at our front door, and we're like, honey, what's wrong? And she's like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And she told us the whole thing, and this guy was threatening her that if she didn't send $1,000, $2,000, she was going to be arrested. She was going to lose her nursing license. And of course, they go fishing, what I call. They pull a little bit of information from you and use that against you. So she said that she's a nursing student, and he utilized that to the fullest.
Sure.
But I commended her when she came over to the office and she verified that. I said, honey, this is a scam. You did the right thing. And she started coming down. And by that time, she had family and friends come over and console her. But I commend her for doing the right thing and not sending any money. Again, if you have a warrant for your arrest, we're going to lock you up. You're not going to pay any money over the phone. You're not going to pay any fees to a sheriff, deputy, or anything. You're going to pay it at the jail or at the clerk's office, and that's going to be where your funds go. And if you're using it for a bond, the bond, once it's settled, that bond should be back to you, or unless you owe money,
right?
And that goes to those.
But you wouldn't be doing any of that over the phone.
No, ma'am. No. We used to have a deputy who used to call people with warrants and meet me at the jail, and citation was written and you went to jail. But other than that, no, we're not asking for money.
Right.
We're not asking for Bitcoins or
Right.
crypto.
So if they ask to transfer money through some sort of cryptocurrency, then you know it's bogus.
Correct. A lot of the times, those funds go to an offshore account, Cayman Islands, or somewhere where they cannot be tracked, or that you're not going to get that money back.
Right. And that's the victim contacted the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, and after talking to the deputy had the sad duty to inform her that the $17,000 plus that she sent the scammers was gone. That there was no way to trace it, no way to get that back.
Right.
And that was certainly sad, and an expensive lesson. But it's when you hear how professional these guys are, and of course they do this day in and day out, so they're good at it. They know the lingo too.
And they do their homework. They're pretty savvy about what they're doing. But we try. I think about a year ago, I went Facebook Live on a phone call from the office. I was sitting at my desk and I called and made a post about scams. The biggest thing that we can do is just like the car, unlocking your car, lock it up at 10 p.m. 9 p.m. routine. Just be aware of your surroundings, whether on a cell phone, face-to-face, emails. Here shortly I'll go into the email scam that we received, but just be aware. If it sounds fishy, it's most likely a scam, and do your homework. Hang up with them, call the sheriff's office, come to the sheriff's office, and make sure that your money's secure and not going away. Right,
and a scam that I don't know how prevalent it is on Facebook, on eBay anymore, and other auction sites, but I sell periodically sell some ham radio related items on eBay, and I have been approached more than once by someone saying, I can send you a check for more than what you want if you'll send me the balance in cash. That
used to be a predominant scam, or that you have won this lottery or gift, and I'm going to send you this money, you go cash that check, and then you send the money back to them. You keep $1,000, and the check was for $40,000.
Right.
Those are starting to die down a whole lot, and they're getting creative on others. But yeah, that was a big predominant scam back in the day.
I had a phone call like that telling me how much money I'd won, and I just said, the hell you say, and hung the phone up. I knew I had not entered any contest.
If you won that kind of money, tell them bring it to your doorstep.
Well, it's funny, Raymond, because doing genealogy on my family, ran across some letters among some of my, I don't know if they would be great aunts and uncles, but the siblings. And somebody had contacted them out of state saying that they were heirs to a fortune in Ireland, and they had a castle, and they were looking for the heirs. And so they believed that my relatives were the surviving members of the family, and the heirs to this fortune. All they had to do was to come up with $1,000 processing fee, or I don't know if it was 1,000. It was a bunch of money, especially at that time. This was 1905. Come up with the money and pay this alleged attorney, and you'd be home free. Family would be set, have plenty of money, and a castle to boot. And these letters going back from one sibling to another. How do you think? Can we raise the money? Who can we ask? And needless to say, they never. My family members never got a castle or a.
But they didn't lose the money either.
I don't think they found enough suckers or family members to chip in on that. But that, we talk about scams, we think that they're fairly new development. But 120 years ago, there were still variations of the scams that they didn't have electronic means, but they were still propagating.
So some of the other scams are on Facebook where they say somebody's stealing catalytic converters. Let's make them famous. Some of that.
But why would that be?
So when you start sharing, people are looking to see if those folks are home or not, and are able to come in and break into those homes. A lot of it, when Facebook originally started, you had to put a whole bunch of information, your phone number. I'm a goofy that put my phone number out there, but I'm in a position that I get spam calls all the time and whatnot, but you put a lot of information on social media that the scammers are getting, and that's how they're getting to know your family. If you look at some of the folks on Facebook, they say, this is my aunt, this is my mother, this is my cousin, this is my auntie, and whatnot, and they're getting the information because we're giving it to them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, again, they do their homework. They selectively pick elderly and sometimes young that are just going to say, well, you know too much information on me, it's got to be real.
Right. Well, that's what happened in the victim's case. All the information they had was available, was publicly available information.
Right.
And they just used what was easy to find.
Correct.
And they even knew her line of work because she's published on a database of licensed people who are licensed, the state database. So, it's kind of scary of how prevalent these are and how convincing they can be,
and how often it happens. How many victims?
There have been. The FBI has
10,000.
reported that there have been billions are lost every year through scams. And they are so prevalent that now many agencies and everything are putting out alerts on how to avoid, like at the Kroger store. I got a notice from LG&E talking about how to avoid the scams. My method is just to not answer the telephone. At least on that.
If you answer it, just make sure, be aware of the signs. Don't give money over the phone. Don't go to an ATM to drop your bond. Kentucky is probably one of the few states that doesn't have a bail bondsman, and it's for some of the reasons of that is you have to have a loved one come bond you out, and you do that at the Nelson County Jail or at a jail in the Commonwealth, or you pay your bond at the clerk's office, and you have to pay that in a certified check, property, or cash. So those things are some of the things that you need to realize. We're not asking you to go to a crypto machine to send your money away.
Right. Well, but for the average lay person who knows nothing about, whose interaction with law enforcement is few and far between, or the court system,
right?
They don't know the
ins and outs.
Right. Well, Sheriff, let's take a break for some commercial messages. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks, and we'll be back with our very special guest, Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa, in just a moment. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks, Margie Bradford, and our special guest today, Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa. And Sheriff, we've been talking scams, and if you've been contacted and you think what you're hearing or what you're reading is a scam, what do you recommend that our listeners do?
They can contact the Attorney General's office by visiting ag.ky.gov/scams or by calling 1-800-432-9257. Again, 1-888-432-9257. And we'll post this on our Facebook page so the public can have a fresh scan of this
Okay.
flyer that I have.
Right.
Talking upcoming season is the tax refunds.
Right. Right.
You may get a scam saying that the IRS has been notified of your overdue debt, and whether you do or you don't, just be cautious of sending money that could possibly be a scam. The Attorney General says the IRS has been notified of your overdue debt. To avoid an audit, you can pay now with gift cards. And it says, caution, beware of gift card scams. If they're asking you to go to Walgreens, Walmart, or any store that sells gift cards, you're about to be scammed. Don't do it. Just verify.
Right. And they can also contact the sheriff's office, local sheriff's office,
Correct.
to run it past law enforcement to see if it get an opinion on, does this sound legit or not?
Legit or scam, and
Yeah.
we'll see the red flags on the scams.
Right. And like I said before, sometimes dealing with law enforcement and the court system and things, people don't know the ins and outs and what's normal and what's not. But again, as you said, there's I don't think any court in the land will ask you to send bond money through cryptocurrency.
No, you're absolutely right, and just be aware of your surroundings again on what could be a scam. If it's raising some red flags, just hang up the phone, call us. We'll be able to run those numbers through our systems and whatnot, and especially if we call it and they say they're from the Nelson County Sheriff's Office.
Well, I haven't gotten one of those calls. I'll tell you another, and this really isn't a scam, but it feels like it as many calls as I get. I get calls from related to Medicare, and I get like a dozen or more calls, and sometimes they're trying to get me to agree to have them send me and bill Medicare for back and knee braces and all sorts of braces and other supplies. They'll ask me, Mr. Brooks, does your neck hurt? And I'm like, no, and so they'll go down and then if you say yes, why, they'll say, well, we'll send you at no charge this device, this equipment, etc. But though there is a charge, but I think they accept Medicare payment. But anyway, just be careful of when you get a phone call that's not solicited, and they spoof numbers all the time too. I get Medicare sign-up phone calls.
Well, they're Medicare Advantage plans.
But I get phone calls from Bardstown, from Baghdad, Kentucky, that say they're all over Kentucky, and they're obviously spoofing that number. There's no call center, Medicare call center in the middle of rural Rowan County, I don't think. There might be, but I don't think there is. But those aren't necessarily a scam, but you have to be careful how you answer those questions too. And Margie and I were talking about that. If you say yes, they can, depending on how authentic they are or how
creative they are, they can record your yes.
You're right.
Use that for getting credit cards in your name. And when the credit card company has recorded your voice, is this you, Mr. Brooks?
Right.
And yes. And it's you, you're like, wow, how did that happen? Well, they're using your recording of what they wanted you, how they wanted you to answer, so they can use it for scams in the future. Right.
I had one phone call once, and the person asked me a series of questions related to Medicare, and went down through all my identifying information, and the answer they wanted was a yes. And I decided, well, I'm not going to use the word yes. And so they would say, is your address still da-da-da-da-da-da? And I'd say, my address is still da-da-da-da-da. I refused to say the word yes. And she asked me so many questions, and the same question in different ways, trying to get me to say yes. And I wouldn't do it. But anyway, well, Raymond, there's no shortage, I think, of people who want to have an easy payday or use their skills that they probably could use more productively to bilk people out of their funds.
I've said this, Jim. If people would utilize their creativeness, their skills on a real job, they would possibly be millionaires. But they're being lazy and utilizing it to scam people out of their money. And it's the creativeness that they use. I'll tell you one, it's a personal one because it happened at our sheriff's office. Individual created an email acting as if it was the sheriff, me, and started emailing my staff. Well, he's getting the information from our website. He's got all the emails. So he's emailing, hey guys, we're coming, we're doing good, we're getting ready to do this, and this. Keep it quiet. We're going to get some credit cards. He was fishing, like, again, I'm call it what it is. He's fishing for somebody to bite on the scam. And I'm going to do something real nice for the employees. Well, for one, I cannot utilize government money to do gifts for employees. That should have been the red flag right there. One of my staff members went to Kroger and bought $1,000 worth of credit cards. Well, my staff started, did you email me? I was like, no. And he's like, I didn't think so. Next one, did you email me? No, I didn't think so. So I went up there and I said, look, I didn't email any staff members about. And the other staff member was like, OMG. So-and-so went up to Kroger to buy credit cards. I was like, call them, tell them to stop. It was too late. They bought the credit cards, but we stopped from sending them.
Right.
Because they wanted pictures of the credit cards so they could cash them out. You don't need the credit card to actually
So you
use
didn't
it.
actually lose the
We
money.
didn't. We were very blessed.
Yeah.
Our auditor was in the building that day, and I was like, you can't make this up. And he's like, what? And I told him, and he's like, no, you can't. And he's like, in my 24-year career, I've never seen something happen at a sheriff's office, especially when the auditor is in the building.
Right.
I said, yeah, you can't make it up. So we fixed it. We sold the credit cards to staff. They bought them to use personally, and we deposited the money back in our account.
Right.
So we were blessed that we staff members realized, and then I put it out there, and we stopped it just short of losing the funds to a scammer. But
Well, you know, these people are, they do such a good job of scamming that I had just recently read in the paper that a financial consultant himself who did a show and wrote articles on, on finance, got scammed out of a bunch of money. But it was so authentic that he bit.
they're creative.
And so it's if you get scammed, don't be embarrassed. I mean, you're in good company. But people just have to learn to try to avoid being scammed by not interacting with these people. Hang
we
up.
only get a portion of the victims that feel comfortable in coming and saying. There's a lot of people that I'm not telling people that I lost hundreds or thousands of dollars. I'll look like a fool.
Right.
But it's okay. Just report it so we can inform other people so they don't become victims of it. And I think that we do a pretty good job on being transparent and informing the public, our citizens, to be aware of scams, be aware of the car breakings, things like that could prevent, and be very vigilant of your surroundings. You know, it's just today's society, today's nature is they're out to get your money.
Well, and there's another scam that really preys on people who are lonely when they be contacted by someone. And I had a family friend who got scammed out of like about $35,000 from someone that they contacted, that had contacted them and struck up a relationship. And you know, being a lonely person, they fell for it. But they scammed them out of all that
Their
money.
life savings.
Yeah, it was, and they were embarrassed. They wouldn't report it or anything because they were embarrassed by the fact that this person had scammed them. But they can tell by whatever you're posting on Facebook. You know, they learn a lot about you, so they get very personal.
Yeah, social media can be the evil and the good. I call it the double-edged sword because what you put out there, other people are getting it. So.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a caller I think wants to ask some questions, Raymond. So let's go to the phone. Good morning. You're on Bradford and Brooks.
Good morning, Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that a scam that I could have had, it was on my cell phone and I had it turned off. But when I turned it on, I got the message. They were actually using my son's voice.
Really?
Now, you know, I wanted to alert the people about that. Now, how did they do that?
It could be that they are recording your son and asking him the questions how you would answer. Sometimes they say that your son is in a detention center. They may not be in our county, but he needs bond money and they'll utilize it. A lot of people utilize the social media record things that they say and use that in a voice recording. Yeah,
it's amazing what the technology allows today.
I wonder if it was AI, you know.
Could be, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that stuff works either, but wanted to let you know what else, you know, could be going on. Some people, I mean, it really scared me.
Oh, sure.
Oh, especially since it's your son, your loved one is in a trouble and a bind, and they're trying to get you.
They didn't get that far.
Right.
Because they said, my phone was turned off, but they said, if you know this person, press 1. Well, that's a scam.
Right.
Right there.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Well, thanks for the call.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. Things hung up here. All right. That's unusual, but I'll tell you, talking about AI briefly on YouTube, there's a lot of different 60s music groups that I follow, and I saw a YouTube video where somebody changed or created a voice of a 1960s singer and matched it to an old video clip of them singing, but it wasn't them singing the song, it was AI generated. And that's pretty sophisticated, kind of scary too, when you think about a computer-generated voice singing a classic rock song. But well, Raymond, we're down to about the last 3 minutes. Any other warnings or suggestions for people? I know that the weather's warming up and crimes of opportunity. I guess it goes without saying, don't leave valuables in your car, especially if they're visible. Like weapons and computers, anything that, like you say, is a crime of opportunity. Somebody walking by sees it, takes it, and they're gone, and you may not even know that anybody was in there.
And just make sure that it becomes a routine to lock your cars, even if you leave some in the car. We'd rather you take all your stuff out, but at the end of the day, we become vulnerable if we leave our doors unlocked.
Well, I think there are groups of people who just go through neighborhoods trying all the doors. Doors of cars.
And that's what they're doing. They're basically stealing cars, especially in today's technology with a vehicle. If you leave your key fob in it and it's a push start, all you have to do is push it, see if the keys are in it. And if you're just, I'm not going to call you lazy, but if you just in that comfortable zone that you leave your key fob in the car, then you're becoming vulnerable to the opportunity of knuckleheads coming to your neighborhood and trying you.
Right. And real briefly, we don't have much time. I know that the flock cameras, I saw a sheriff's office post about recovered a stolen vehicle from, and I think those seem to be very, very effective in helping you guys.
They have been very, very proactive for us. I call it a police officer 24/7, 365 on duty. Never takes a day of rest.
And doesn't collect a paycheck.
And they don't. It costs a little bit, but
sure.
But they've been very beneficial for us. A lot of people, or some people, don't like them. Invasion of privacy or whatnot. I'll tell you this: you have no privacy if you're on a public road.
Exactly. Agreed.
So it is what it is. We don't take advantage of it. We're not out here looking to see where you're going or coming. This is a tool to solve crime.
And you have solved crimes.
We have a ton. And to be honest with you, as the sheriff, it's my job to solve crime. And I'm going to do everything in my power. If we got to utilize tools, we're going to do so. So thank you all.
All right. Well, Raymond, thank you so much for coming in today and talking about scams and other topics today. That's going to do it for today's Bradford and Brooks. Thank you all for listening. Just a reminder that by the end of the week, this show will be posted on YouTube, on the Nelson County Gazette and YouTube and Bradford and Brooks Facebook page. So until next Wednesday, you all have a great week and enjoy the sunshine while it lasts.